Are you ready to face your biggest fear? Subscribe, like, and grab a cup of coffee as we dive deep into a terrifying yet enlightening near-death experience.
I decided to take pills and poison to make sure that it was successful. I saw I had taken the pills, my body was laying lifeless on the bed. There was pieces of skull that were shattered all around me. Our mind is creating the reality around us. Obesity, pre-diabetic, I had severe depression, all of those things were wiped away within 3 to 4 months of my return. God is beautiful and God exists in each and every one of us. Hi, my name is Lisa Everhart. I am a motivational speaker and spiritual life coach. I had a near-death experience about 5 years ago, and today I would love to share my story with all of you. The beginning of my story, I was in a very sad spot. I was just at my wit's end. I was looking in all the wrong places for happiness, and I was very ill. My liver was failing. I was an alcoholic. I was very alone in my life, and I decided to take pills and poison to make sure that it was successful. I did it about 7:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning because I knew that I was going to have a 12-hour window before someone was going to be coming home that would be able to find me and resuscitate me. So about 8:30 in that evening, I was told by my boyfriend who came home and was the one who found me that it was about 8:30 in the evening. During this time, I had the experience of being out of my body, and I could see my body lying on the bed, and I was a bit confused. It took me a while to kind of realize that my body was on the bed and I was separate from it. When my boyfriend did come home and find me at 8:30 at night, he said that I was unconscious and that they carried me out in a sheet. So what I remember is being out of my body and being carried out in a bag of some sort. And so with his story, it does add up that it could have been a sheet, but for some reason I was perceiving it to be a body bag, and I was being carried out and being put into the back of an ambulance. That is all I remember of that part. I did not come to until I was in the hospital, and the first thing that I remember hearing was they were asking me, do you know why you're here? Do you know what date it is? What year it is? And I then started to fall under. And as I fell under, I could still hear the sounds in the room saying that she's seizing, but there's no brain activity on the monitor. And when I fell under, I was in this brick building. Everything was brick all the way around, and I was in this bed, and I was attached to a tablet and a phone size tablet as well. So there was 2 of them, and there was coding coming down these 2 tablets, and they were connected to a cord, which the cord was connected to me. And as I was sitting there on the bed, I started to move my energy forward, and I felt this pulling, almost like a ripping of me in half. That's what it felt like. And then I started to rise up out of the body. And as I started to rise up out of the body that I left behind on the bed, I could still see the cord attached to me, and I started to float and glide through the building that I was in. There was a sliding glass door that I glided through, and I was outside, and there was green grass everywhere. It was beautiful, and there was 2 trees. I remember the trees very distinctively. There were fig trees, And I tried going up the first tree. For some reason, I just felt compelled to try and go up these trees because it was all that was around. So I went up the first tree and I just kept sliding down. I could not go all the way up. And so I then tried to go over to the other tree. And as I went up that tree, it had transformed into a house of some sort. And there was a television screen with static going down it. And then I woke up again in the hospital. And this time when I woke up in the hospital, they were once again asking me, do you know why you're here? What is your name? What is the date? Do you know the year? Asking me all these repetitive questions. And as they started to ask me the questions, once again, I fell back under. And I could feel at that point my body vibrating intensely. And then I fell under and I was once again in that brick building. And as I found myself in that brick building, connected to the tablets once again with the cord, I started to glide, but this time I went the opposite way than I had gone previous. And when I went the other way, the hallway was very dim. It was like a yellow lighting almost. And I saw two individuals that were still alive in my current life right now. So their names were Brittany and Stephanie. And as I was gliding past them, they could not see me, but I could see them. So there was no communication of any sort there. As I started to continue gliding, I went out the other door, went through the door, and I found myself back outside where the tree was. And this time I went up it once more. And when I went up the tree, there was the screen again, but this time there was not static going down it. There were hundreds of thousands of little glimpses of what I understood to be my life, or lives that I've lived, or lives that I will live, or were a possibility. This is just something that I knew to be true in that moment. And so as I was looking closer at these individual little glimpses, I saw the version of me where I had taken the pills. My body was laying lifeless on the bed. And then right next to it, there was another little glimpse of me in the hospital. And as I moved my energy field forward, I started to turn into a vortex of some sort. It was like very colorful. I could see the brightness, and I was sucked in to that little glimpse as I leaned forward of me in the hospital. And then once again, I woke up in the hospital and they were asking me questions. And this time when I had woken up, I had realized that they had tied me down to the bed. And I was kind of freaking out a little bit because I was constrained. And then I remember I had tubes in my nose, I had IVs all over me, and I was tied to the bed. And I was awake very briefly in my body. And then once again, I went back under. And this time when I went under, I did not wake up in the brick building, but rather I woke up and there was dirt coming off of me. And I do not have a body. I didn't see any hands or any feet or legs or anything like that. I just saw like a light. And as I started to lift up, the dirt was falling off of me, and to my left was a cross, and to my right there was a cross, and then in front of where I was rising out of the dirt, there also was a cross directly in front of me. And as I looked around even further, there was pieces of skull that were shattered all around me. And so as I got up fully out of this dirt, I started to glide over to my right. And as I glided over to my right, there was this huge boulder, a rock of some sort, and I felt gravitated, being pulled toward this rock. And when it was directly in front of it, it opened up and I was able to go inside, and it was a cave of some sort. And as I continued to glide through, there was more pieces of skull fragments all around me. And then I realized that I was inside a cave of mirrors, and it was all a reflection. And at first I saw just light, and then when I went in further, I saw a fiery serpent. It was red and orange and black, and as I'm looking, I'm thinking I'm looking at something other than myself. But as I look all around me and I turn left to right and turn around, I'm seeing that the only reflection on every angle of these mirrors was this serpent. So I took it as it was me. And in that moment, as the realization that the reflection I was seeing was myself as the serpent, I morphed into this black tar. And as it morphed into this black tar, I then saw in an incubator this newborn child, and it was attached also to a cord within this pod, and it was floating directly in front of me. But if I had a body, it would be like I was holding it. But because I did not have a body, I was just a substance at this point. It was floating directly in front of me. And after this, I woke back up in the hospital, and this time they were asking me all sorts of questions. I was able to really come to for a good amount of time before falling back under and having the heavenly vision that I had. They were asking me sort of questions like, are you all right? Do you know your name? And then I remember everything going black. And as everything went black and I was in this void where there was just nothing at all of a sudden I saw this bright white light. And within this bright white light, there was a gentleman who was absolutely beautiful, had this golden curly hair, purple sash over his waist, these beautiful olive green eyes. His beauty was just breathtaking. And we connected. And as we connected, we shot up out of my bed into the universe. And as we went through with light speed, I could feel the vortex. I could feel actually going like light speed. And the clouds, I could feel it on my face, the moisture, I could feel the cold air around me. So I had senses in this part of this vision. And then we broke through the atmosphere, through the stars, through into the sun. And I know it was the sun. I could feel the heat on my face. And as we broke through, I looked all around us, and there were rivers flowing, and there were mountaintops. There was about 5 mountaintops, and we went to the very highest one. And when we got up to the top of that mountaintop, there was just this gorgeous building of emerald, gold, silver, all granite, all the stones, all the beautiful stone colors. And everything there was just so vibrant in bright colors. Here are not the same as they were in this place that I was at. And I remember being shown 2 children sitting side by side, and they both had these screens in front of them, and what was playing on one was playing on the other, and vice versa. And that was the only thing that was shown to me there. and everything was done telepathically. There's no words, no speaking like how I'm speaking now. You just heard it within your own mind, and I was told, you are a messenger. And as I was told that, and that the words were vibrating in my mind, I remember just feeling a complete warm, pure energy, love, unconditional love, a feeling that I have never ever felt anywhere in earth. It was a feeling that I've been seeking for my entire life, and it just consumed every part of my vessel. And I remember feeling a complete shock, and I woke back up in the hospital. And that is my complete experience of my NDE. And after this experience, I believe is where the true story lies, because coming back into my reality with the experience that I had, the only thing that I really took away from it is that I had this profound experience that I just didn't understand. It did take some time for me to really grasp what had happened. And it was about 4 months after my NDE where I had a whole healing. My liver that had been failing, my kidneys that I had had issues with my entire life, and obesity, pre-diabetic because of the weight gain. I had severe depression. All of those things were wiped away within 3 to 4 months of my return. I was being guided by the spirit within me, and that's all the best way I can explain it is I just suddenly knew that I was to do certain things, that I was to start doing breath work, I was to start meditating, that I was start writing myself love notes. And I just started completing all of these tasks because I felt that something inside of me greater than just this one little perspective, who I say is Lisa, something bigger was guiding me to do these things. So I did it. And because I did it, I know that that's why the healing within me took place. And I just have continued on that same path all the years that followed after. And I did come across, the closest thing that I've come across is Neville Goddard's work. And Neville Goddard's work describes the exact experiences that I witnessed and had, and the many visions that I've had after my NDE as well. It's amazing that I was able to find someone whose experience and all of his teachings are based solely upon what it is I had experienced. So I fell in love with his work because I was just so passionate about it. For the first time, I didn't feel crazy. I felt that I could talk about my experience, that I could share it, and those who are ready to receive it and use it as inspiration, that there is something out there past just this little life that we're living. And I was shown that there's no death and that there's nothing to fear, and that it really is all about unconditional love, and that our mind is creating the reality around us. That was what was given to me, and that is how I live my life. And every day I continue to have huge transformations in every area of my life, and I'm just fully thankful and grateful for the experience that I had, even though it was brought on by a not preferred situation. And by all means, I am not encouraging anyone to go out there and take their own life, that's the way. That is definitely not the way. God is just so powerful and wonderful that God can even take that situation and create life from it, something beautiful from it. But I by all means, don't go out and think that you have to have a near-death experience in order to have something magical. Everything starts within you, and when you start seeking and asking the right questions and really wanting to have the answers, to really be in the receptive mode to hearing the answers, you will find them. God is beautiful, and God exists in each and every one of us. And that is something I also took away from my experience. I vibrate in unconditional love every day, and I'm thankful to be able to do that. I'm thankful to be thankful. And this is a transformation in itself, because I was a very bitter, resentful, angry young woman before my spiritual transformation. And that is my story. That is my transformation, what I took away from my experience. And I hope that whoever is watching this video today, that I have inspired you in some shape or form to keep going, to keep seeking, and to love above everything. Thank you, and God bless.